I'm excited to talk about this slate because I haven't had a chance to do it yet. And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Deeper Dive. It is Tuesday, March 5th. I am Josh Engleman. I'm joined by DK. We're brought to you by BetMGM. Lots of initials in this intro. And we've got 8 games ahead of us. I'm here now. Apologies for missing the strategy show. They didn't allow me to have power at my home, so had to kick that one to, I don't even know who covered the show, but thank you to whoever covered the show. We're back here now, though, for the deeper dive. Hit that oh my God, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow us both on Twitter. What's going on, man? How are you?
Good. Glad the power's working for you again. This one should be a pretty
Both.
fun slate too. Got a lot of questionable players, in the late games as well. So, yeah, should be a fun slate.
Yeah, it's very different than what I originally looked at. The Tyrese Maxey news came out earlier in the day. That was not something that I had. So like Philly wasn't that interesting of a team when I began to prep this morning. Slightly different outlook right now. Happy that we've got an 8-gamer ahead of us. Happy that it's all over at 8:30 as well. That'll just be pretty easy to manage. We lopped off that 10 o'clock game. I don't really have much else to say, and we've got a lot to talk about, so I'm ready to dive in if you are.
Yeah, let's do it.
We're not diving into a good one out of the gate. Orlando Magic, 8.5-point favorites in Charlotte, 207.5 total. Highest owned guy for the Magic is Wendell Carter Jr. at 7%. Highest optimal guy is Paolo Banchero at 8.5. We have no Markelle Fultz in this one. Are you seeing anything on the Orlando side that jumps out? You would think it would, because it's such a good matchup, but neither one of these offenses are a lot to write home about.
Yeah, you would think in a spot against the Hornets, I would like a little bit more, but kind of tough on this slate. I mean, Orlando does run a relatively deep rotation. No Markelle Fultz doesn't really change a ton for me.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit more solidified run for guys like Suggs and Cole Anthony, but it's not like they're cheap. Suggs is 5.1. Cole Anthony's 4.9K. I mean, Wendell Carter Jr.'s minutes been a little bit up and down. I would say, I guess I agree with the field. I think he's probably the easiest guy to get to. Franz and Paolo are always playable, but I think there's other guys in the price range are going to look better on this slate, especially if like news breaks your way. So all in all, I think Orlando's a pretty unappealing team. And yeah, I agree with the field here.
Yeah, I got to one single share of Jalen Suggs, and that's it. I thought it would look a little bit better just because of how bad Charlotte is defensively, but this is an Orlando team who kind of has their entire rotation right around where their salary should be. This is the number 23 offense, so it's not like they're that much better than what the Charlotte defense is, and neither team plays particularly fast. It's just not that kind of game, as evidenced by the 207 implied or total for the game, which is the low by 5 full points.
Have you noticed too, like a lot since coming back from the All-Star break, a lot of unders been hitting in the totals. I think there's one day, I don't know if it was yesterday or 2 days ago, where every single under hit.
Ooh. I hadn't been paying attention to it because that's usually just something that's outside of my wheelhouse until I'm a little bit more in that sports betting scene. But yeah, I mean, I think we're starting to get more injuries across the league, and I think we just have a dearth of good offenses in comparison to where some of these defenses are right now.
Right. Yeah. I think that's kind of what's happening.
Oh, but now we got to talk about Charlotte. And unfortunately, I think we actually have to talk a little bit about Charlotte. LaMelo still out. Cody Martin still out. Mark Williams still out. Q tag on Nick Richards, which has all sorts of trickle down effects if he ends up out. We have 22% ownership coming into Vasily Micic. Everybody else is like 3 or 4. We also have 9% optimal, which when we have a gap this big, I tend to think that ownership number comes down a little bit from what we have. When you have such a chasm between the two and his optimal rate's not getting that high, I wouldn't be surprised if we see that Micic number come down around 15%. But let's start with him. Is he your preferred Charlotte option?
It depends on Nick Richards. I think if Nick Richards gets ruled out, I would say probably Grant Williams would be my preferred option, because in that game where Richards missed, Williams started and played 40 minutes. It is a little bit surprising to me that Micic is like the only one getting any ownership. I do think at the moment he's probably the easiest guy to get to, But Charlotte, I mean, that rotation last game without Nick Richards, they gave their starters huge run. You saw 36 minutes for Brandon Miller, 40 minutes for Grant Williams, 39 for Miles Bridges, 35 for Misic. Trey Mann played almost 30. Bertans played 25. So I do think some of these guys at the top end, Bridges, Miller, and Mann, are interesting in tournaments. But yeah, right now, Misic is the easy guy to get to. But if Nick Richards gets ruled out, I mean, I think Grant Williams would be a pretty good play right now. He's getting very little ownership. I don't think I can get to a guy like Bertans. He was someone that was a little bit more appealing that most recent slate because there wasn't as much value. I think there's going to be a lot better value on this slate. So I think it's those top 5 guys: Bridges, Miller, Mann, Grant Williams, and Misic. And then if Richards plays, I think he could be another like interesting contrarian play. I would assume he would play like 25 to 30 minutes if he does get ruled in. He's at a reasonable price point.
I'm getting to a little bit of Brandon Miller. I have 12% right now. He's only 3% owned. I'm fine with that flyer. Not much of a stand. I'm well under on Misic. I have 10%. I think that if his ownership shows up at like 15, I probably end up around 15, and I just kind of call it a day there. But if he continues to maintain north of 20, then I don't think that I'm going to end up anywhere near it. It really is interesting, though, to see if we lose Nick Richards. How many minutes are you willing to project Grant Williams for?
Probably give him like mid 30s, like 34, 35, I think. He played 40 last game. I don't know. I would definitely be 30 plus for sure.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. And so in that scenario, like, do you think you'd get to a lot of Grant Williams?
Let's think about it here. Let's call it 0.8. Let's be really pessimistic. Let's give him 35 minutes. I wouldn't say a lot, but probably in the like 15, 20 range.
Okay.
Something like that.
More than the 0.1 that he's hitting right now.
Yeah, I think I'd get him a little bit more frequently than not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, so probably I think he ends up in that like 15 to 20 range around 35 minutes. I might be a little pessimistic on his per minute rate. He's been at 0.91 over the past month. I think that is a little lofty for him, but this is a horrid matchup, bad pace, good matchup against a really solid defense. So if I try to be at least a little pessimistic, I mean, we're still talking about somewhere in the neighborhood of 29 fantasy points, gets him to like 5.3x his salary. He'll probably be he will look like the best Charlotte Hornet option if Nick Richards is gone.
Agree. And I guess the one downside too about getting exposure to this game is there's just so many guys that we don't know if they're playing or not in these later games. And if you do get exposure to this game, then you're not going to have as much flexibility. So this is the standalone 6 p.m. Central game where we have a lot of games at 6:30 and then a few at 7 and 7:30.
Would you have any interest in Marcus Bolden?
Probably not.
Okay.
Min price center that would most likely, back up Grant Williams if Nick Richards gets rolled out. But
yeah,
I don't think I want to lock up a spot for a value play like that when I think there's going to be much better plays in the later games. So I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, I was just thinking about it, and it's like he's the flat 3K, and he played every second of the 7.5 minutes that Grant Williams wasn't on the floor, but I don't know how much they're willing to give him if something happens to Grant Williams, if he's in any foul trouble. Like, we don't necessarily know if Bolden's the guy. They could just as easily like throw some minutes at JT Thor and go smaller and not really care too much. I don't know what they would do, but if we saw him get real backup center minutes, looks okay at 3K, but had to ask. Boston Celtics, 8-point favorites in Cleveland, 215 total. This one kind of looks like what we just talked about. The highest owned guy for Boston is Kristaps Porzingis or Jason Tatum, 3.9%. They also share 5.7% optimal rates, which is kind of interesting. Tatum doesn't share the Q tag. That would be Jaylen Brown. So it's Jaylen Brown and Kristaps Porzingis, both with questionable tags for today. Do you want to get to Boston if everybody's in?
No, if everyone's in, same thing like with Orlando. I think it's really hard to get to this team. No, can you play guys? Sure. Like filler plays, you can get to Tatum, you can get to Porzingis, you can get to Jaylen Brown. But we talk about this a lot. Whenever this team is fully healthy, they're usually pretty hard to get to. And then you factor in that they're going up against Cleveland, which is not necessarily the best matchup, not a super high total. No, I think this team is basically a stay away for me. So yeah, not a lot that I'm really interested in. There would be some plays that would open up here if one or both of Jaylen Brown and Porzingis sit, though.
So let's say Porzingis is out. We're obviously bumping Al Horford's minutes. Are you more of a Tillman guy? Or are you more of a Cornet guy? Do you think they both just get out there for 12 to 14 and neither one of them are relevant? Like, if we lose Porzingis, is it really just like an incremental upgrade to these guys? Do we need to lose them both?
Yeah, I think you'd probably need to lose them both. Like, I don't think if Porzingis sits, I could still get to like Tillman or Cornet. I think I would have some interest in Horford in that scenario, but if both Porzingis and Brown sit, that's where I think I would start considering some of these like cheap Celtics, like those guys you mentioned. Maybe Sam Hauser could be viable, but I think you need both those guys to be out, at least on this slate.
Yeah, I agree. If you get Brown out, then you can start throwing those bullets at either Peyton Pritchard or Sam Hauser. Is like, instead of getting 17 minutes, or we have them at 16, maybe you're projecting them for like 18 or 19. And at that point, we've got some pretty ugly value plays that exist in that low 3K range. I'd feel a little bit better knowing these guys are at least going to be on the floor, but I don't think anybody's going to look overwhelmingly good because number 3 in defensive rating is on the opposite side. Number 28 in pace is on the opposite side. This is not a very good matchup against the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think we need to see them both leave, at which point Drew Holiday, Jason Tatum, Derek White, all much bigger priorities than we're seeing now. They probably get up to in and around that 10% optimal mark. Do you have a guy you would prefer the most if we lose them both?
If we lose them both, probably one of the guards, White 6'6", Drew Holiday 6'1". I think those guys, or even Horford at 5'6", I think would be a reasonable option as well. I think it would be those mid-range guys. I think there's other spend ups I would probably still prefer to Tatum, but would be close. He would obviously look way more appealing if both Brown and Porzingis are out.
All right. And keep your eyes peeled on that news, guys. This is a 7 o'clock start. We're going to know this one. The Cleveland side also holding some news for us. Karis LeVert questionable, Isaac Okoro questionable. The reason those two Q tags mean a lot is Donovan Mitchell out, Max Strus out. So this is the first time we've actually got somebody to talk about and a lot of ownership coming in. 24% ownership coming into Karis LeVert. And a reminder, I just told you guys he has a Q tag. 14% coming into Darius Garland. 18 coming into Sam Merrill. 10 to Evan Mobley. 10 to Isaac Okoro, who, as I mentioned, is also questionable. Only 6 coming into Jared Allen. I like this Cleveland side way more than I like the Boston side. I kind of want the guys from Boston to be out so these guys look better, because I hate this spot if Boston's at full strength and maybe Cleveland isn't, but I got a lot of this Cleveland side.
Yeah, I think this is probably the most appealing team that we've talked about so far, definitely. Taking a guy like Donovan Mitchell off the court, it makes Cleveland look pretty good. Right now, Karis LeVert is a pretty popular play. He is still questionable, but with Strus and Mitchell both out, you would probably think LeVert would push for close to 30 minutes. Would probably be that secondary playmaker behind Darius Garland. So agree with the ownership. If he does play, I think he stands out as a pretty good play there in the mid-range. Your boy Sam Merrill getting some ownership, pushing 20%. He's a guy that would see more run for sure. He's played 25 and 29 minutes over the last couple of games. I'm a little bit surprised that Garland and Mobley aren't getting more love. I know it's not necessarily the best matchup, but reasonable price point, 7.2 for Garland, 7.5 for Evan Mobley. I think you're going to get huge minutes for these guys, assuming the game stays competitive. So I'm a little bit higher on those two than the field right now. You mentioned Jared Allen. I think he's reasonable at his ownership too, not getting a lot of love. So this Cleveland team, I think, looks good right now. And we got to keep an eye on the status of LeVert and Okoro because they could be really, really shorthanded. I'd have to look into how many bodies they would have, even if those two get ruled out. Because then we might have to look to like Craig Porter Jr. as a value too at the flat min price.
I'm going to pull that up right now. Yeah, like right now I have 20% of LeVert. I have 32 of Garland, 16 of Mobley, 20 of Okoro, 18 of Jared Allen, still 10 of Sam Merrill. So only Merrill and LeVert are the guys that I'm a little under on, but 3Xing Jared Allen, 2Xing Isaac Okoro, 2Xing Darius Garland, a little bit over on Evan Mobley. Like, I'm pretty happy with the amount of Cleveland I have. But because of that amount of Cleveland, I kind of want something to be out for Boston. So this game could be at least slightly competitive because Boston's beating the shit out of everybody right now. I need a little bit of help.
Yeah, you always have to have that in the back of your mind too when you have players going up against Boston. It's like, will these guys play full minutes? Because it feels like almost half the games Boston plays are just like huge blowouts. So I agree with your take that like if one or Brown or Porzingis or both end up sitting, I feel way better about Cleveland. Just much more confident that this game would stay competitive. If the two guys are in for Boston, you have to factor that in, but I still don't think it's going to get me away from Cleveland, just the way that they run their rotations. Like I expect a very tight rotation here and big minutes for a lot of these main guys.
All right, so Garland, Allen, Mobley, Niang, Wade, Porter, Merrill. Ty Jerome is still out. Tristan Thompson is suspended. Damian Jones is available, so that makes 8. Sharif Cooper is 9. Yeah. Isaiah Mobley isn't with the team. Amani Bates is with the team, so that's 10. They'll have 11 if those guys are out. Now, some of those guys are Pete Nance, which certainly sounds like a made-up dude, but obviously Larry Nance's brother. Like Bates is probably not someone that's going to play a ton. Isaiah Mobley's not going to play a ton. Damian Jones isn't going to play a ton. So it would really be like 7 or 8 of the guys that they actually want to be out on the floor.
Would you like Craig Porter Jr. in that situation?
Probably. How tall is he?
I have no clue.
He's 6'1". I don't know how much they'd want to run Porter and Garland together.
Right.
I think that would be a bit of a hang-up.
Okay.
I think they'd be more likely to give more minutes to like one of those random extra 10-day two-way type guys. Nick Richards available to play.
Okay. So we don't have to deal with 5.4K Grant Williams.
Good. I didn't want to. So who do you like? Let's say everybody's in for Cleveland. Who do you like the most?
I think Garland and Mobley at their ownerships. I think they're going under-owned right now. Again, nice price points. So I'm pretty high in those two. And LeVert, if he plays, obviously, I think he's a really good point per dollar play too.
Well, I got 32% Garland, the most of anybody we've talked about, and certainly the most I have of anybody on Cleveland. But 6 guys in double digits of exposure for me right now, and I assume that will only go up unless LeVert and or Okoro sit, because then they would be one of those 6 names that I don't have any longer. NBA Live Before Lock coming up next, but only if you hit the like button on this stream. They will take you from 6 o'clock all the way up until 7 p.m. But we don't stop there. You guys know the drill at this point. You shouldn't want to miss it. We'll be on playback at 7 p.m. talking basketball for an hour. Go check Greg's tweet. We're going to do a little bit of a giveaway for first basket for one of these games. You have a chance to win a week, I believe a week of Odd Shopper. It might have been a month of Odd Shopper. Don't remember off the top of my head. Go check Greg's tweet. I retweeted it too, at Josh Engleman, if you want to go find that retweet. But we're going to be there watching the game, sweating bets, sweating pick'em cards, sweating DFS, taking a look at the DFS news that comes in between 7 and 7:30 and from 7:30 until 8 o'clock. And you guys can watch the basketball games with us. This is connected to League Pass. If you have League Pass, great. Just pop in. You'll be able to watch along with us. We can bounce around from games if we need to. If you don't, maybe you can cross your fingers a little bit, get a VIP pass from us. We can designate some extra people, little temporary League Pass subscriptions in our channel so that you could watch along with us. There's 0 latency on the chat, so everything that we're saying, you're immediately getting. It's the best experience possible to watch these games. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be playback.tv/Stokastic. Well, this is a very different game now. Philadelphia 76ers are 1-point dogs in Brooklyn, 212 total. This one changed a little bit earlier today when Tyrese Maxey was ruled out for concussion symptoms. Is that the way to describe it? Because it wasn't just like he's got a concussion. It was like he's got a concussion coming on. So he's not going to be available. Cam Payne is questionable. KJ Martin is questionable. We're already without DeAnthony Melton. This is leading us to 40% ownership on Kelly Oubre, 30 on Cam Payne, 20 on Tobias Harris, 20 on Kyle Lowry, and 10 on Buddy Hield. I'm getting a ton of Philadelphia right now.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I really like this team. You take Embiid and you take Maxey off the court. I mean, there's just a ton of minutes and usage to go around. Let's take a look at some numbers. Relatively small sample size, but Tobias Harris, about a 1.14 fantasy point per minute player with those two off the court. Kelly Oubre setting about a fantasy point per minute. Same with Buddy Hield. Again, not major sample size, but you should get a lot of run for these guys. Expecting Kyle Lowry to start. He's played 36 and 33 minutes over the last couple games, and he's had some decent games. Been stuff in the stat sheet, and then you take a guy like Maxey off the court. I think it makes him look pretty good. So I'm much higher on Lowry. I think in the field is right now. He's getting about 20% ownership. I think he looks really, really good. Campaign should back him up. He's close to min price. He's getting ownership. Agree with that. Yeah, I think there's a lot to like from seeing. Even these wings, Oubre, Tobias Harris, Buddy Hield, expect like 30 plus minutes from all of them. Oubre right now getting the most ownership. Shooting guard, small forward, relatively cheap price point, again, only 5.3K. So very, very high on the 76ers. The center rotation is a little bit trickier. They've been starting Mo Bamba, but his minutes have not been great. 19 and 14 minutes over the last couple games. Paul Reed moved to the bench, but still saw decent minutes over the last couple games, 24 and 28 minutes. Brooklyn on the other side, they're relatively shorthanded behind Claxton. So not like super confident that you would get 48 minutes from Paul Reed and Mo Bamba, which makes it a little bit trickier to get to those guys. But I think right now, Harris, Hield, Oubre, Lowry all look really, really good, and Campaign as well. Because expect him to get decent minutes off the bench. Assuming he plays, he's still questionable too. But assuming he plays, I think he'd be a really solid punt play.
I'm over the field on all 5 of those guys. I have 20% of Hield. He's 10%. I have 56 of Campaign right now. He's 30. I have 54 of Kelly Oubre, 46 of Kyle Lowry, which I really like. I'm very happy to 2x the field on Kyle Lowry in this spot. And I've got just shy of 30% of Tobias Harris. I've got every bit of these guys that are getting love, and I'm really curious to see how that would change. How much does like Ricky Council come into play if Campaign gets ruled out? Because he seems to be their next guy up for minutes.
Yeah, I actually think he would be a relatively interesting play because he hasn't played a ton this year, but one given run, like he's been pretty solid point per minute. I know it's been a lot of just like garbage time, but he's got shooting guard, small forward eligibility. So he'd be like playable, I think, because I would assume he would get some backup point run in that scenario. I don't think the field would really get to him either. So yeah, if Campaign gets rolled out, I think we would have to consider a min price Ricky Council.
All righty. Yeah, they're just going to look good because this might surprise people. But when Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey aren't around, it really allows everybody else to do some things.
Do you think they shift Kelly Oubre in the starting lineup and they go Lowry, Hield, Oubre, Harris, and then one of the bigs? Or do you think they go necessarily like starting lineup?
Yeah, they could go either way there, and I don't think it really changes the outlook. They might want to just have somebody on the bench that's a little bit more juice. Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if they just keep that going. Could go either way, really.
Yeah, I don't
think they're going to get a ton of minutes from Batum either way.
Yeah, they've been pretty cautious with his minutes. I don't think he'd be a play either way, but
maybe they haven't. He played 31 and a half last time.
Yeah, I was just looking at that.
I just assumed it was like 24.
Yeah, like I don't know. I guess like for a while he was playing like 20 to 25. But yeah, 32 the most recent game. Okay. Well, maybe he would be a viable value too if he gets a start.
Yeah, I kind of want to bump his minutes a little bit from what I had them at. I don't know how I overlooked that, but maybe I just didn't refresh that table before I looked at it earlier. But he seems more ready to play those minutes. And it's not like this is just Philly stepping into a game where they got to fill all this time. Like, they're only 1-point dogs. This game is a coin flip. They could win it with all of these scrub-ish type plays for today. So I wouldn't be surprised if we got another 30 out of Nick Batum if he's got it in his legs.
Yeah, so at 1% ownership, I think if he gets to start, I think he'd be an interesting contrarian value.
Yeah, I agree. The Brooklyn side is equally as interesting, I guess, based on ownership. 25% coming into Nick Claxton, around 15 to Cam Johnson, Dennis Schroeder, and Dorian Finney-Smith, who was a bit of a hero last night. 10 for Mikal Bridges, only 5 for Trendon Watford, who at 3,100 is least a little sneaky to me. We love him from a positive leverage standpoint. Start wherever you want here on Brooklyn, but this is a game pulling way more ownership than you would probably expect just on the surface.
Right. Like it's a relatively low total game, but you're going to get pretty tight rotations for both these teams. I mean, for Brooklyn, again, they're pretty shorthanded and they gave their starters good run last game. So again, no Cam Thomas, Ben Simmons, Day'Ron Sharpe, still waiting on the status of Lonnie Walker. But in the most recent game, Cam Johnson played almost 37 minutes. Nick Claxton played 33. Bridges played almost 40 minutes. Dorian Finney-Smith played 36. Schroeder played 37. With Day'Ron Sharpe out too, I would assume that we get some backup run for Trent Watford, who you mentioned. Right now, he's getting like no love, so he could be a pretty sneaky value play there at basically no ownership. But yeah, Schroeder right now I think is probably my favorite option. 6K, sub 20%, expecting big minutes for him. Potential assists have been really solid for him as well. So he's gonna have the ball in his hands a ton. 7, 8, and 9 assists over the last 3 games. Claxton getting the most love. I mean, I would not be surprised if Claxton plays like mid to high 30s minutes in this game. Again, played 33 last time out, but could play a little bit more with Day'Ron Sharpe out. Cam Johnson, Dorian Finney-Smith, Mikal Bridges, all in the 10 to 15% ownership range. No real strong takes in those guys. I think they're more filler plays for me. But yeah, I think Schroeder, Claxton, probably my favorite options. And then right now, Watford's getting no ownership. I think he's a sneaky GPP play.
I got the 16% of Watford. I do like that a lot at 3,100 because there's just not a lot of people ahead of him. Like, obviously they can go small, but if anything happens to Nick Claxton, like Trendon Watford being able to be rostered at a power forward spot will be interesting. I'm going right back to Dorian Finney-Smith. I hate that after the way that he started yesterday. Like, that is not the performance that I'm trying to recreate. And then I'm basically just right around the field for everybody else. Right at the field for Cam Johnson, right at the field for Schroeder, right at the field for Bridges, right at the field for Nick Claxton. It just looks like a team, just in general, this looks like a game that I'm going to have a decent chunk of, which shouldn't be all that surprising. It's the most owned game on today's slate.
Yeah, what do you think of I'm a little bit surprised Lonnie Walker too hasn't been getting more run. He's averaging like 12, 13 minutes a game over the last 3 games. Don't think I can get to him at the price point. I just thought with how shorthanded they've been, like he would get more run, but he really hasn't.
No, I guess we're just learning what everybody thinks of Lonnie Walker, I guess. I mean, he didn't play for 2 coaches now, really. I thought he would have got more love too. I really did. But they just don't appear to be giving him those minutes. So I think we need to see another person out ahead of him for it to ever happen. But with him at 4,200, it makes it easier. I'm very happy that he's not like 3,200 because that's when you start to get like, oh, well, all he needs is a couple extra minutes type thoughts. I don't really have those thoughts when he's at 4,200.
Yeah, the reason I bring it up is I've actually taken some shots at him recently. I played him in that game. I think that game against Atlanta, where he shot 1 of 7. Or was it the game against Orlando? One of these games he shot like literally 10% from the field. I was like, all right, well, my night is over. So yeah, it's not been a fun experience playing a low on Lonnie Walker.
Well, speaking of unfun experiences, the Detroit Pistons are 11.5-point underdogs in Miami, 217 total. The highest owned guy for the Pistons is 4.5% to Marcus Sasser. And what's incredible in that spot is that Marcus Sasser is probably not going to play all that much. We got him in for 16 minutes, and yet he's still the highest owned guy at 5%. He's not the highest optimal. That's Asar Thompson at 6.5. I got to a little bit of Fontecchio, which worked the last time I did it. Quentin Grimes is doubtful, so I don't think we need to talk about him. Do you want to get to anything here for the Pistons in a horrific spot against Miami?
No, not really. I think my favorite play probably would be Cade sub 8K. In a competitive game, you should get like 35 plus minutes from him. So like I wouldn't mind mixing a little bit of him in tournaments, but yeah, this Detroit team's pretty unappealing. As you said, it's a really bad matchup. I mean, Sasser right now getting the most ownership, but not super confident those minutes there. I think maybe if the game blows out, he could have extended a little bit. The one positive thing to note about Detroit is in competitive games, they have been getting their starters a little bit more run recently. So if they can somehow keep it competitive, like I wouldn't be shocked if all 5 starters play 30 plus minutes. It's just such a bad matchup, and the price points don't really stand out either.
I don't want any part of this, and I don't even want to talk about Detroit for how bad it looks. Miami, on the other hand, call it 15% ownership to Jimmy Butler, around the same for Bam Adebayo, around 10 for Terry Rozier. Double-digit optimals for Butler and for Bam, a little bit less so for Terry Rozier. what do you see here for Miami? Because they have it the other way. This is a terrible defense and a decent enough spot for the Heat.
Yeah, really good matchup here for Miami. So I think getting any exposure to those main guys, Bam, Jimmy, and Rozier, is not a bad idea. Reasonable price points in all three, to be honest. 8.4K for Bam, 8.1 for Jimmy Butler, 6.5K for Rozier. The minutes on Rozier have been solid, 33 over the last couple games. He'll have the ball in his hands a reasonable or a good amount, and again, not a bad price point there. I think it would mainly just be those top three guys, though: Jimmy, Bam, and Rozier. Duncan Robinson is playing a lot, but the price point has come to a point where it's like, okay, it's pretty hard to get to him at 5.8K. Like, he should get mid-30s minutes in a competitive game, but kind of tough to go to him when Jimmy, Bam, and Rozier are all healthy. And then some of these other secondary plays, price points are up a little bit too. So for me, mainly, I think Bam, Jimmy, and Rozier are the guys I'm looking to. And yeah, I don't mind getting to any of them. Not like anyone's getting insane ownership. They're all like in the 10 to 20% range. So those are the three guys I'm looking to for Miami. That's probably it.
They're the exact guys that I have. 14% of Bam, 18% of Jimmy Butler, 12% of Terry Rozier, right on the line. Micic is starting once again, so
Okay.
Not that I'm super surprised by that, but just want to push that information out. I wouldn't mind taking a shot on like Jaime Jaquez or Duncan Robinson, but I think the prices are sort of where they're supposed to be at this point.
What about a 3.8K Jovic? Do you have any interest in him?
Look at it here. Not really. I gave him 20 minutes. Not the most illustrious projection for me at that point. 5% optimal, 7% owned. Like, certainly a guy that you can work into the 150. Not a guy that I typically trust if he's coming off the bench. Not a guy that I typically trust anyway.
Even when he starts, yeah, there's some times where Jovic will get like spot starts. He'll start and play like 10 to 15 minutes. So yeah, it's always hard to feel confident in his minutes no matter what.
Yeah, I don't think I'll get there. But add him to the like. He's not all that different than Campaign, and Campaign is getting some love on the Philly side. Like, there are these 3K guys that are going to look pretty similar to the ones that are pulling real ownership.
Right.
Oh, well, we're at the halfway point, folks, which means you should hit the like button. That would be the easiest thing for you to do. The other thing you should do is sign up at BetMGM. If you're in a legal sports betting state, which I am now, which is kind of awesome, bet $5. Get $150 in bonus bets. That will come in as three $50 bonus bets. The worst case scenario here, the minimum deposit is $10. You have to bet 5 to get those 3 bonus bets. If you lose your $5 bet and all 3 bonus bets, you're still only out $5 of your own money. That's the worst case scenario for this. Best case scenario, you pop a couple of those bonus bets and you're starting off with potentially $100, $200, $300 as a bankroll that you didn't have before that. It couldn't be any easier. Download the app. It's available in whatever legal betting states are out there for you guys. But the big takeaway, the legal age for betting in this state and in most states, except for Kentucky craziness, it's 21 or over. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. But seriously, take advantage of that deal. Anytime you can see these deals, if you haven't signed up at that book yet, do it. Get the free money while you can. Oh, another steaming pile of junk. Atlanta Hawks, 3-point dogs in New York against this shell of a Knicks team. 5% ownership coming into Sadiq Bey is the highest owned guy for Atlanta. Do you like anything from the Hawks?
I'm a little bit higher, I think, on the Hawks in the field is right now. So DeJounte Murray, I know the price point's up on him, but he has really, really good numbers without Trae Young this season. He has about a 30% usage rate, 35.5 assist percentage, and he's a 1.33 fantasy point per minute player on the year, again, with Trae Young off the court. So, he's going to do everything for this team. He's going to play big minutes in competitive games. Atlanta's been really bad recently, too. I'm basically homeless now from playing Bogdanovic, it feels like, over the last couple weeks. I've had a lot of money on his props as well, so that's been no fun. But yeah, right now Atlanta's getting no ownership, so I think those two guards are a little bit interesting, DeJounte and Bogdanovic. You should get mid-30s minutes from Bogdan once again. DeJounte should play close to 40 minutes. And then Clint Capella, I don't think he's on a minutes restriction anymore, 5.7K. you might get one of these games where all of a sudden Capella plays 28 to 30 minutes. And if that's the case, he could have a really good game at 5.7. So, again, Fields not getting to this team. I think Bogdan, Murray, and Capella would be the three guys that I would look to.
I got to Sadiq Bey, and that's it. I don't have a single share of anybody else for the Hawks, and I'm cool with it. They don't grade out well for me in any way.
Yeah,
and
it's a
I'm
really
a Bay
bad
guy.
matchup. You said you are a Bay guy?
I am a Bay guy. Well, I'm a Bay guy in terms of DFS. Like, he's a guy that I always get to. I don't really care about Sadiq Bey in terms of real life basketball.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like he's always one of those guys I'm just like, okay, if I get to him, but like I'm never like prioritizing Sadiq Bey.
There's something about him that like always makes him pop, even though I don't have him projected like differently than anybody else. He just is the name that always shows up. It's always like a, balanced price MPE. Like, he just kind of
Right.
fits whenever you need it.
Right.
This game is probably the biggest pain in the ass on today's slate. It's one we desperately needed to be at 7 o'clock and not 7:30. Is Jalen Brunson going to play today?
I mean, if I had to guess, I would say no. From what, like, because I was watching that game right when he got injured, he was limping pretty bad. I thought it was a very serious injury. So I'm shocked that he is questionable today. Yeah, I mean, if I had to put like a percent chance on it, I would probably say like 70% chance he doesn't play. But that's just from what it looked like when he hobbled off the court. I thought he's gonna be out for a while, to be honest.
I think he's going to play.
You think so?
I don't feel like he'd be on the injury report this late if he wasn't at least giving it a go today. Like, he's clearly going through warmups, right?
Yeah.
Or he'd already be out.
That's true. And the Knicks, I mean, Tibbs is a crazy person. So if Brunson could at least give it a go, he's going to come out and play 40 minutes if he plays, which is just wild. The reason that, I mean, the news is huge is because I think this is like one of the biggest pieces of news that we still need, because it completely changes everything for like New York. If Brunson gets ruled out, this probably would be one of my favorite teams to target. And like right now they're getting like no ownership, but I don't know if you noticed, McBride came in for Brunson when Brunson went down and played every single, he played 47.5 minutes, played basically the entire game.
First time that's happened in like 30 something years, I think.
Mm-hmm. Like, that's the most you'll ever get from someone coming off the bench, 47.5 minutes. Josh Hart, like, he's playing basically the entire game too, 47, 45 minutes the last couple games, 18 and 19 rebounds. Like, yeah, this Knicks team, I mean, the Brunson news is huge for this slate, because I think if he gets rolled out, I'm going to have a lot of interest in these New York Knicks.
I'm so fascinated by this. I don't know how much of the Knicks I'm actually going to like if Brunson is out. Like, how many minutes? I guess we got to give McBride 36. Let's just say at a minimum.
Yeah, you're probably projecting him from like mid to high 30s, I would say.
At the very least, that seems what they want to do. Like, he certainly looks a lot better. I think he becomes like a 15% owned guy, but DiVincenzo gets a little bit of a bump. Do you then start projecting Josh Hart for like 44 minutes?
Probably, yeah. Because right now, like, they're just not. I'm shocked about this too. They're just not giving Alec Burks any minutes.
I don't get it. If you're not going to give Alec Burks any minutes the moment Jalen Brunson goes down and doesn't play the entire game, like, he's never getting on the floor. You can't ever confidently give him minutes now.
Yeah, like, I thought once Brunson went down and be like, okay, McBride and Burks benefit here, but no, they just gave every single minute to McBride, and Burks still barely played. So another one that I'm very shocked he doesn't have a bigger role for this team with how shorthanded they've been.
So, like, who do you want to get to the most from the Knicks if Brunson ends up out?
I think Hart, DiVincenzo would probably be the two guys I'd look to. But again, the price points aren't amazing, I guess. 7.9 for Hart, 7.8K for DiVincenzo. Kind of hard to get to the bigs right now. The minutes have been a little bit all over the place for these guys. Like Achua, 26, 22 minutes of the last couple games. They haven't really been giving Hartenstein a ton of run. Jericho Sims has been surprisingly firmly in this rotation. So the bigs don't look as appealing. I think it would be Hart, DiVincenzo, and then 5.5K McBride. Like, McBride, I know he's not gonna be like a super high usage player, but I think he definitely underperformed, basically like 0.5 fantasy points per minute in the most recent game. So I think those would be the three guys I would look to: Hart, DiVincenzo, and McBride.
I want to point this out now. Let me see if it even matters.
Okay.
Chat's talking about it. Now, I can say that Shake Milton wasn't in the player pool to start the day. There's no mention of him on the injury report, but he did sign his rest of the season contract with the Knicks today. I have no idea what that means for his availability. I think we'll see something like that if and when we get to that point. It might not even matter for us. Let me hop over to DK right now and just see if he's in the player pool. Because if he's not in the player pool, then it really, no, he's not. So
No,
it doesn't
he's not,
matter
yeah.
then. I couldn't care less then. Is he on FanDuel's? No, at least he wasn't earlier this morning in case he got added. So even if Shake Milton happens to be there, all that's going to do is ruin everything for you. He's not going to be rosterable, even if we think that he can play.
Yeah, there's going to be no positive. There's just going to be negatives if he is actually available. Like he could technically take away some minutes from some of those guys, but I don't know if they would want, like, do they think Shake Milton is a better fit than Alec Burks? Like, I don't know.
I mean, one of those guys got signed on a rest of the season deal after getting bought out by the Pistons. The other one they traded for with real assets. You would think the answer is Burks, but I don't trust anything when it comes to Tibbs. I trust the Knicks front office. I do not trust Tibbs to make decisions that make sense.
Yeah, no, totally agree with that. I'm reading the chat too. Yeah, I mean, even if he's available, I don't think he would play a ton. Like, I think he would just get a little bit of backup.
I mean, at this point, he's not going to be added to the player pool. Like, DraftKings
he's not going to be playable.
No. So none of it should matter. I got nothing else here for the Knicks. I assume you don't either.
Yeah, no, ready to move on.
The New Orleans Pelicans are 9.5-point favorites in Toronto, 228 total. For the Pels, standard issue stuff. Everybody that's normally available is. For Raptors, no Scotty Barnes, no Bruce Brown, no Jakob Poeltl. Very weird team. They're like a completely different team today than they were when they started the season. All the guys that were there either got shipped out or they're hurt. 11% ownership to Brandon Ingram, 8 to Zion, single digits for everything else. Only guy that got to double-digit optimal was Brandon Ingram. Do you like anything here for the Pels? Which it should be a good spot, but these guys are all just priced where they should be.
Yeah, it is a good spot, but kind of agree. Like they're priced about right. Usually when this team is fully healthy, they're tough to prioritize. I think you can mix in some Zion and some Ingram. That's probably about where I would go. I don't think I can get 10 these wings. CJ feels priced right. I'm not going to mess with the center rotation right now. Like there's some games where JV's getting decent minutes. Other games he's getting benched at half, and when Larry Nance is getting extended. I don't think it's worth it to try to take shots there. So I think the only two guys I would have interested in are Zion and Ingram, and they're more to secondary plays. You're going to get good minutes for them. Like Ingram should play mid to high 30s, Zion low to mid 30s, but they don't stand out point per dollar.
Jaylen Brown in, Kristaps Porzingis in.
Okay. So Boston as a team, relatively unappealing then.
Yep. You don't mind if you get any one of those starters, but they are certainly not priorities. I only got to 1 share of Ingram, 1 share of CJ McCollum. I just do not have this Pelicans team, and I don't love it because I think this spot is fantastic.
Yeah, it is a really good spot, but like again, when they're fully healthy, it's like, unless they're underpriced, but they're not. Like I just feel like they're priced right.
So Raptors, no Scotty Barnes, no Bruce Brown, no Jakob Poeltl. 25% ownership coming into a $6,300 Kelly Olynyk. Round 10 for Jordan Nwora and RJ Barrett. What do you want to do here for Toronto? Because they have minutes to go around, but it doesn't seem all that interesting outside of Kelly O, and even that one scares me.
Yeah, it does scare me a little bit. I think they're going to go with quickly Gary Trent, Agbachi, RJ Barrett, Kelly Olynyk as a starting 5.
Probably, although I don't know how much they want to do. Who's guarding Zion in that scenario? RJ Barrett? I mean, they know each other and all, but I would imagine Zion knows that he can go right through his chest. I'm curious if they try going to, I don't want to say a double big lineup, but someone slightly bigger than, let's say, Agbaji in this scenario. Obviously, Chris Boucher is bigger, but not necessarily bigger. But at the very least, then Kelly Olynyk can maybe handle a little bit more of that. I don't know. I don't have a great feel here.
Yeah, and they did go to Jonte Porter actually as the backup 5 over Boucher last game. Boucher was a DNP, but I think Olynyk is my favorite.
We had Bruce Brown that game though, right?
I believe no, we had
No, we didn't have who
we had
did we
Pirtle.
have that? Yeah. Pirtle
Yeah.
did start there. Yeah. I think we see Boucher again just because,
Mhm.
but I also do think we're seeing Jonte Porter.
Yeah. But back to the main guys. I think Olynyk's probably my favorite option. Playing at the 5 gives him a nice boost. A guy can stuff the stat sheet, reasonable price point. I think he plays around 30 minutes. Could play a little bit more too. So I'm pretty high on Olynyk, and the field is there. He's getting 20+% ownership. Nwora is getting a little bit of love as well. I think like maybe an outside chance he could start, but he's not a bad point per minute player. And if he finds his way in a few extra minutes, he could pay off that salary pretty easily. I'm also a bit higher on Quickly than the field. He's getting sub 10% ownership. Gets a nice bump, obviously, without Scotty Barnes. He's going to be probably like the number 1 option offensively. 9, 11, and 11 assists over the last 3 games. So clearly their primary playmaker. 48, 40, 53 fantasy points over the last 3 games. So pretty high on Quickly as a GPP play. And then agree with the field on Olynyk. I think he stands out as your best point per dollar play.
Yeah, I'm with you on most of this. I like the Emmanuel Quickly shout. I think you have to get to at least some Kelly Olynyk. I think Barrett's totally fine. I didn't really get to any Jordan Nwora. I guess it's not out of the realm of possibility he starts. By the way, I think the lineup you listed out with Akbaji in there and essentially RJ, I guess we're calling RJ Barrett the 4. Just power forward eligibility for RJ Barrett. It's like next level stupid. I assume that's what they're doing. At that point, 4,800 for Akbaji is not going to get it done for me, even in a starting lineup.
No, yeah, I mean, last game's probably like your ceiling performance there for Akbaji. He did shoot 20 times though in that most recent game in 33 minutes, which is a bit surprising.
Yeah, he took like 15 shots from 2 or something. It was like it's some number that like it shouldn't be. He
That's
was
just so like
5 of 10
not...
from the rim, 0 for 3 from mid range. So he was 5 of 13 from inside the arc, and then 1 of 7 from 3. Negative 6.2 game EPM. Tough game there.
It's just so not like Akbaji too. It's not like he's like a high usage player. I was going back and like looking at some of his game logs when he was like getting extra minutes for Utah, shooting like 5-6 times a game max in like 25, 30 minutes, and then just shoots 20 times in their most recent game.
Yeah. Not playing him. That much I can tell you.
No, I'm definitely not.
My dog is dreaming and like barking in his sleep right now. It's fun to watch. Anything else for the Raptors?
No, I think that's it.
Alrighty. Final thing that I want to talk about before we finish these final 2 games. It's very easy. Data. Ooh, Jalen Brunson ruled out. That was not the thing that I wanted to talk about, but it is the thing that I had to say the moment that popped up. So buckle up for some real garbage from the Knicks, and honestly, not changing all that much if they are going to play Shake Milton and that dude could soak up playing time, but yuck.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what the ownership update is on guys like DiVincenzo and Hart and McBride. I'm curious. I don't think they're gonna be super popular still, but
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Now, data, all access. It was a package that we didn't have. We just unveiled it. If you do not want to use our avatar to get our projections for all sports, ownership for all sports, boom bust tools and top tools, unlimited data access for every one of our supported sports, along with Discord access and our base level Sims access. It's $299.95. However, if you want to use our avatar, $199.95. You're cutting $100 off the price by supporting us by using the avatar, which you can get at stokastic.com/avatar. No reason for you to sleep on that one, guys. If you want access to all of the data, if you're less interested in the Sims, this is the package you want. Links in the description or in chat. San Antonio Spurs, 7.5-point dogs in Houston, 228 total. Now, for the Spurs, hard to say much here. We are slightly waiting on news. Julian Champagnie is questionable. I know that's going to be an incredible trickle-down effect for everybody. Oh, but wait, Victor Wembanyama, also questionable. If he's in, I'm mostly uninterested in what we have for San Antonio. If he's out, though, that's where things change.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think if Wembanyama plays, it's pretty hard to get to this team. Like Wembanyama himself would still be viable 10-7, but that feels priced about right. Vassell's been their second highest usage player in the season, but he's up to almost 8K. So this team would be relatively unappealing. It's not really the best spot there against Houston, but if Wembanyama gets ruled out, I think the first guy that I'm looking to is going to be Zach Collins. Should shift in the starting lineup, but probably play 25 to 30 minutes. So I think he would stand out as one of the better values on the board if Wembanyama does not play. And then, unfortunately, would have to consider some of these other plays like Jones and Sohan and Johnson and Vassell, because you take a guy like Wembanyama off the court, those 30-ish minutes, that pretty high usage rate. These guys are all going to look a lot better. You mentioned Champagnie too. He's questionable. Branham in the most recent game played a lot more than I thought too. Played 31 minutes. I don't know if we get that run again from him if Champagnie is out, but he'd be another valid play you'd have to consider too. So right now, keep a close eye on this news because we could have some good plays in the Spurs if Wembanyama does not play.
Shake Milton available to make his debut today.
Okay,
so that's not good news for anybody trying to play this.
Yeah, that makes things a little tricky for targeting the Knicks and DFS.
It does indeed.
If Wembanyama doesn't play, is Zach Collins your favorite play too?
Yeah, I think he's the best play on the slate if Wemby is out.
You
want to give him 26 minutes at like 1.05 fantasy points per minute. That's like 27 fantasy points at 4,500. That's like 6x his salary. I don't think anybody else on the slate currently projects like that.
Who would be your second favorite play in that scenario? Would it be like Vassell? Would it be Sohan?
Mamu maybe?
That could be another. I don't know if I want to deal with that. Like
he's
messing with
flat min.
Yeah, but they might go to Dominic Barlow as the backup.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I just kind of assumed he wasn't with the team, but he is.
They said they converted his two-way to a standard. Yeah. So like,
could be Barlow either.
Yeah, what we've seen recently, usually, if like one of Wembanyama or Zach Collins is out, it's been Barlow most of the time playing ahead of Momuklishvili. So
if it's both guys, if it's Wemby and Champagnie, then I think it's Keldon Johnson. I think Keldon Johnson gets back to like what his usage used to be if we rip Wemby off the floor. But if Champagnie's there, then I don't think you get the same minutes bump for Keldon Johnson. Whereas if they're both out, then I think you can get minutes and usage for Keldon Johnson. And he goes from essentially uninteresting to way more interesting.
Yeah, because like early on in the season, Keldon was playing like 35 a night in competitive games. So he would definitely be underpriced if both those guys are out for sure. Because I think you would probably get 30-ish minutes from him, maybe a little more.
Yeah. You're certainly bumping Vassell a little bit from a usage perspective. I don't really know who I feel like gets the next biggest benefit because we're really talking about having to add like 25 new minutes to this rotation. I mean, some of that's going to be whoever they choose at backup center, but there's still probably like 5 or 6 minutes to go around that are.
No, there's a good amount of minutes to go around for sure. So, yeah.
So keep your eyes peeled for that because the Wemby news is everything. Maybe we get that on playback. You guys could be watching us on playback at playback.tv/Stokastic. Houston, they are getting some love. 20% ownership coming into Jalen Green, 20% ownership coming into Alperen Şengün, 15 to Van Vliet, 10 to Dylan Brooks and Jabari Smith. What do you like the most from Houston? Because I'm all over the place here.
Yeah, I think I'm probably the highest on 8.2K Şengün.
Not as high as me, I don't think. He's in like 52% of my lineups right now.
Okay. Yeah, I think he's going under-owned. In a competitive game, you're going to get low to mid 30s minutes from him. Yeah, he's going for 40 plus fantasy points in 3 or 4 of the last 5 games. Again, the Spurs are a team I love targeting players against. So, and Houston's been running a pretty tight rotation too. So I think Şengün really stands out. I don't think I'm as high on Jalen Green is in the field. His price point has come up. I know he's had a couple really good games, but I think I'm a little bit lower on him than the field is. Van Vliet's price point is slowly ticked up too, but you should get close to 40 minutes from him in a competitive game. I think he's a pretty good play at 14% ownership. Dylan Brooks and Jabari Smith hovering around 10%. Those guys more filler plays. Jabari Smith's minutes have been great of late, like he's playing 35 to 40 minutes in competitive games. Like the last, 5 games, 41, 41, 35, 37, and 37. The issue is the price point. And yeah, Brooks should see low 30s minutes in competitive game as well. But I think probably my 2 favorite plays would be Şengün, 8.2, and Van Fleet at 7.3.
So, like I said, I have a ton of Şengün. I'm with you on Jalen Green. I think that 23% ownership feels a little high. So he is the guy that I'm getting away from a bit. He's also our biggest negative leverage guy. I am getting to Jabari Smith at 6,700. I don't know if it's just a low ownership thing, but I like those minutes that he's been getting lately. I have him in for 36. So do we. He's like my pay up to be, I don't want to say pay up to be contrarian, but like at 6,700, pay a little bit more for him to be contrarian. That's the second biggest stand of anybody that I'm taking on Houston. I still have 20% of Van Vliet. I still have 20% of Brooks, but getting away from the Jalen Green ownership is actually what I'm doing most here. And I just think he's overowned.
Yeah, I think he's overowned. I don't mind your call on getting a little overweight to Jabari Smith too. The rebounding number has been really solid for him. Like his rebound opportunity has been great over the last 5 games. So yeah, and then you factor in the really good matchup against the Spurs too. I think this is a pretty appealing team to get to.
Yeah, go Houston. Obviously, yeah, matchup is incredible, and it's only going to get better if Wemby gets ruled out.
Yep.
And then we close it out. Indiana Pacers. Hit that like button, folks. Let's get that number up to like 400. You don't want this screen to go black when Live Before Lock starts. You're not going to be able to watch it. Pacers are 4.5-point dogs in Dallas. 247 total. Let's talk Pacers, I guess. Just the sea of Q tags like it normally is for this Indiana team at this point. I'm getting bored with talking about the Pacers. Quentin Jackson is questionable. I didn't know they had Rampage on the team. Benedict Mathurin, a late ad with a Q tag. McDermott out. Aaron Nesmith questionable. Ben Shepherd questionable. If everybody happens to be in, I find this team mostly unappealing, which is pretty annoying for a game with a 247 total. I believe they have the second highest implied total. Everything should look good here, but all these guys are just priced either too much or right where they should be.
Yeah, I think I'm a bit higher on Halliburton right now than the field. I know he's been struggling a bit, but in the most recent game, he played 36 minutes. Like that is appealing. Shot 4 of 16 though. But yeah, it's close to a 250 over under. Reasonable price point of Halliburton. So I think I'm a bit higher on him than the field is right now. He's only projected for about 3% ownership. Jalen Smith right now getting the backup 5. He's always playable for me as a contrarian value because if you do get Turner foul trouble, like Jalen Smith is a good point per minute player, so he's never someone I mind getting overweight to. And then we got to keep an eye on the wings, right? Mathurin and Naismith, because if those 2 guys are out, we have to start considering some of these secondary plays. You know, I think like Obi Toppin becomes interesting, Andrew Nembhard maybe. So we could have some value here from the Pacers if both those guys are out.
Yeah, it feels very late swappy, but I'm okay with it. Just gonna have to keep your eye to it. Like if you lose everybody, well, when I say everybody, I mean if you lose Mathurin and Nesmith, like that starts to open some things up in places that you're probably not ready for, which I don't know. I mean, with a 247 total, I would like to take more bites at this late night hammer.
Right. So I don't think it's the worst idea to give some flexibility. Like you do have 2 late games here with some questionable players, right? Wembanyama and then the Pacers with those 2 wings. So you could move some stuff around if you have spots in like your utility.
Final team to talk about is the Dallas Mavericks. 24% ownership to Luka Doncic. 13, we'll call it, to Kyrie Irving. And then basically nothing to everybody else. I definitely agree with the basically nothing to everybody else side. How are you handling a $12,200 Luka or an $8,900 Kyrie Irving?
Yeah, I think I like getting to both these guys. Again, a little over 20% for Luka, Kyrie just above 10%. Just love the spot for them. You know, price points are not awful. 12.2K for Luka. I mean, he's going to play high 30s minutes in a competitive game. He's gone for 70 plus fantasy points now in the last 4 games. Kyrie sub 9K, you know, should play high 30s minutes as well. So agree with the field here. I wouldn't mind getting overweight to either of these guys because, you know, the pace of play, right? Almost a 250 over under. And you just know those 2 are going to do everything for the team, right? They're dominating the usage. They're just doing everything for this roster right now. So yeah, like Luka, like Kyrie. And I'm in agreement with kind of hard to get to everyone else with the way that Dallas is running this rotation with some of the other value plays in the slate. I think it's mainly just those top 2 guys.
I'm with you. I got 24% of Luka, right on the ownership number. I got 18% of Kyrie Irving, and I have very little of anything else. Only other guy that I see is like even semi-viable is probably PJ Washington, just because he's going to be the most involved and play the most minutes. Tyrese Maxey, diagnosed with a mild concussion.
Okay. So he'll probably be out for like a week or so.
Yeah. So lovely. That'll be fun. Lots of garbage on the Sixers roster. I got nothing else here. You want to hit anything else before we get out of here?
No, I think that's it. I think it's just an interesting slate with a lot of questionable players still. Like, I'm reading some news already, the Knicks stuff, but should be a fun 8-game slate.
There it is, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Don't go anywhere. NBA Live Before Lock coming up next on this stream. Hit the like button if you haven't done it yet, and then stick around at the end. We're going to transfer over to Playback to watch some basketball and talk some bets and sweats. So we'll talk to you later, everybody. Have fun. Peace.
We're back, baby. Another edition of the Stokastic Hall of Fame. We're inducting you fine people into it and giving away a ton of Stokastic memberships along the way. All you got to do to get involved, to get your free month, any Stokastic package of your choice up to $200, is download the Stokastic profile picture at stokastic.com/avatar and tweet your wins at Stokastic HOF. If you finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, you're in. Let's get it started. Michael Diaz. Good night despite missing lock. I assume live before lock. Over 5K in wins. Have a great All-Star weekend, everybody. And let's get on to the second half, followed by Ben P. I love this one. I was a skeptic when I had to switch from my usual process to the Stokastic Sims, but I'm officially all in. If you're not a pro and not using this tool, you're paying the rake. Just an awesome, awesome night from Ben P. Shout out to Ben and congrats on the wins. Then our own Tom Kennedy, just on an absolute tear of late, talking about Ben. It's been awesome to get these messages from Ben and everyone else. We knew our Sims were the future, but caught a lot of flack for forcing, in quotes, people to use it. See our users loving the new process. Taking down tournament after tournament this year has been incredible. Got a couple of my own with the tools this past weekend and Thursday. Yeah, a couple would be an understatement. $200,000 wins for Tom. And our friend Jorge, just right behind the big boss. This Sims tool should receive an award because the tools and people behind it are just the best in the market. Another $3,000 win for Jorge on a heater of his own lately. Dave DeMattis, Sims tool for the win. Payout isn't huge, but I'll absolutely take it in a field of 35,000 entries. Thanks for all you guys do. It's Stokastic, and keep up the great work. And Sean Geezy back at it again. Actually, matter of fact, Jordan and I had deleted a few of Sean's over the past couple of weeks just because there were so many of them and we didn't have room, and he's up here every week. But second and fourth in the mini max tonight. If only Fox could have played final 2 minutes. Shout out to the Stokastic team. Sean keeps rolling. Travis, Woolston, EMAC. How about the personal shout out to EMAC? EMAC, been a Stokastic listener for many years. Your info helped me ship 50K last night. A 50K shout out to EMAC. Shout out to Travis as well. PG18, second showdown win in 2 weeks. You weren't kidding, Lobby. The Sims tools crushed the showdown slates. Best tool in the business, $2,400 takedown for PG or Poker God 18. And Tim in Milford. Hey, Tim in Milford. At Stokastic, let's go. $1,000 win in the high five for Tim. And Dave Oliver back, Elway's Army. $2,800 win. Unbeatable content matched with Sims and live show. You guys are the best. Thank you again. Congrats, Dave. Mike Sobey, it was a good day at Riv. $10,000, second place in the Eagle to Mike. And then it's Jay Burke, $200 right there. Simple at Stokastic HOF. The Stokastic Avatar, second place as well. And Brent Lindsay, not a huge win, but I'll take it. $300, second in the end, one. Followed by Mike. Again, second place, Iron Mike 53. Let's go at Stokastic. We got any more? Brandon Muller, here we go. We did it at Stokastic HOF. First place, $166. That'll do it. Remember, you want to get involved, you want to get inducted, get your free month of any Stokastic Sims package you want up to $200. Just download the avatar, tweet your wins at Stokastic HOF if you finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more. And we'll see you guys back here for the next one.
Up Jordan.
Already. We're doing this already? Whatever. I'm over it. I don't even care.
What is happening, everybody? It is time for Live Before Lock. I mean, if it took Eric any longer to get into Zoom and into playback, though, then we might as well just started the After Lock show with how slow he is to get everything going here. It was, the show before us ended at 6 p.m. Eastern time. It is currently 6:08, and you're like, oh, it takes so long to get the camera turned on. I don't know about that. I was in here. I was ready to go, but not Eric. But it's okay. He's about to redeem himself by giving you guys the best B+ analysis that he has in his back pocket for tonight's show.
God.
So do us a big favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are sponsored today by BetMGM. If you guys live in North Carolina, I've got good news for you. If you sign up at BetMGM using the link we have below, all you have to do is make an account at BetMGM, and they're going to give you $200 in bonus bets when sports betting goes live next week in North Carolina. That is it. You don't even have to put up any money. That is all you have to do. Register at BetMGM using the link we have below. If you're anybody you know has a gambling problem, call or text the number 1-800-GAMBLER. Eric, how are you doing today, my friend?
You don't even care, but it's okay. I appreciate you. Doing very well.
Right,
I'm doing great. Excited for this slate. I think there's a huge edge to it. I'm playing a little bit more today. I'm playing both sites. Yeah, let's go Spurs.
First thing I want to ask you, by the way, we have a ton of players on the injury report. So I want to run through all of the players that we have listed as questionable for today, while also keeping note of the fact that there's only one game that's going to be going off at lock. We've got this Orlando-Charlotte game, which is a 207.5 total, the lowest on the entire slate. Actually, I think it's the lowest in quite some time. I can't remember a total lower than this in recent memory at the very least. But we have Luka is questionable tonight. Wemby is questionable. So those are the two massive names on the injury report. We still have Karis LeVert is questionable. That is going to matter when you consider that Donovan Mitchell and other players are out for the Cavs, including Max Strus. Benedict Mathurin is questionable. Aaron Nesmith is questionable. Isaac Okoro is questionable. Cam Payne is questionable. That matters because Tyrese Maxey is out tonight. Eric, do we even need a roster the Orlando-Charlotte game? Because I am strongly considering running everything through the Sims, taking the Orlando-Charlotte game out, and just giving myself as much flexibility as possible to wait for more news. Is that a prudent move, or is there anything we need from the first game?
No, there's nothing you need. I do have, out of 150 lineups, I have 4 Paulo Banchero. So that's cool. I have 1 Franz Wagner, and that is it. I have no Charlotte today. Again, 207.5 total. You're forgetting yesterday. Yesterday I had a 206.5 total between Memphis and Brooklyn. I believe, did it hit like on the number? I think it just went over by like 1.5 or something. But either way, this is another ridiculously low total. I think getting to some Orlando piece is sweet. The Misic thing is very, very strange to see any kind of ownership there whatsoever. I will not be playing him. So I'm on board with you. I think for me, this is just going to be a little bit of Paulo Banchero. I could probably just take the Franz Wagner out and be fine with it.
I'm just leaning toward just taking the entire game out entirely. It's if I had to roster one guy for the upside and the price point, Micic would be interesting, but he's popular. I don't want to play like a super popular Micic on a slate that looks like it would have an immense amount of value that opens up later. And yeah, obviously you open yourself up to some sort of risk of an overtime game happening or somebody popping off and having a big game, but the total is 207.5, as is this is already the least appealing game for me to target on the entire slate. Like, why do I want to run lineups and get myself to like 12% Micic or whatever I would wind up with? I do have to rerun everything for the Brunson news and whatnot, but that's the way that I'm planning on playing it, Eric. I'm just going to take the Charlotte-Orlando game out, and I'll live with the consequence of my decision.
I'm with you. Mo Wagner would be the other like weird one where I'm like, oh, it's Charlotte front court. Everybody's saying Wendell Carter there. Why Wendell Carter? He played 31 minutes against Detroit, got not really blowout run, but he got there. It was buoyed by 19-8. He got to the line 7 times, which is a little bit of an outlier for him. He's not somebody who gets to the free throw line all that frequently. He was 7 for 7 in that regard. He's like a 72% free throw shooter, so he made everything for it. Kind of a really nice run good, but there's so many of these times, especially with Grant Williams on the other side, where they'll go to like Mo Wagner as opposed to closing with like a Wendell Carter in a competitive game. Like for me, I don't think you really want to tangle with it, considering The total, Charlotte's been much better defensively over the course of the last month. They've been top 5 in defensive rating, which is stupid because they were one of the worst defensive teams over the course of this season. So they've had some positive regression. Part of it is the pace. Part of it is just, having guys coming back playing healthy and other guys playing for contracts and playing for their jobs. So yeah, there's some seriousness going on from Charlotte, but like they're still 8-point dogs there at home. If you want to take the whole thing out, I really don't blame you.
Yeah, that's the way I am going to approach it. The one thing that I'm doing for that I'm really looking forward to in the post-lock show, Eric, is myself and Josh, we're going to start to do a little competition with each other with first basket scorers. So I did put a tweet out earlier, which is anybody who wants to put your best guess out for who you think scores the first basket in the Charlotte-Orlando game. What we're going to do to open up the post-lock show is Josh and I are going to try to figure out who we think is going to score the first basket. And then whoever actually ends up scoring the first basket, I'm going to go through all of the correct answers on Twitter, and I'll give out one free Odd Shopper sub to somebody who ends up getting the right answer. So, always trying different things to have fun on the post-lock show. That is one of the things we've cooked up for tonight. And then Josh and I are going to keep score against each other. It'll be fun. We'll figure out who can get more of these first baskets correct. And is this the most beatable market in the world? I'm not sure. We're about to find out if there's any kind of edges we could uncover, and it's something to look forward to in the post-lock show over at Playback there. And thank you, Jordan, for throwing that tweet up on screen there. We've got some super chats here to look at, so let's start with actually just one super chat. Ace of Spade wants to know who our favorite options are for DK tiers tonight. Eric, have you built lineups out for tiers?
Of course I have, Greg. I know the drill at this point.
Okay, well, let's start with
done this
tier
show
1 then.
a time or two.
So tier 1 is super, super interesting tonight because we have Wemby, who's questionable. We have Luka, who's questionable. And then Jason Tatum, who projects way worse than those other two guys, but aren't on the injury report. This is a very tricky one to navigate. So how do you approach this?
You hope you have that news by 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, Greg.
If we don't, well, you'll need to have, let's see. So
I assume Luka's playing. I'd be very surprised if Luka sat today. I mean, if it comes, here's the thing. If the news comes after 8 p.m. Eastern time and it's ruled out Dallas there, because we'll have the Wemby news before 8 p.m. Eastern time. 8:30 is the lock time for Dallas Indy. If for some reason you backloaded your lineups entirely for that one game and one game only, you have the stone cold nuts. Like if Luka ends up being out and you're getting Indy without all of their characters. And I will say Indy's kind of an interesting basketball team. We'll get to Nuke of the Night a little bit later, but my Nuke of the Night comes from the Indy side of things, which I find to be a little bit intriguing. But if Luka were to just get ruled out from the clouds, you just want to get to every single share of anybody playing basketball in a Dallas Mavericks uniform tonight.
All right. Yeah. I mean, so I agree with you. I'm going to go with Luka here. And I do think, kind of related to something that we've talked a good amount around here about just how many times teams have been putting guys on the injury report as questionable when they're probably not totally questionable. This dates back to, in my opinion, the Joel Embiid situation. Same. The 76ers got fined from getting ruled out and not being on the injury report. And I just think teams aren't fucking around with it anymore. If a player is dealing with any kind of injury where anything could happen, where there might be a chance of, hey, this guy's got a minor ankle injury, maybe he aggravates it while warming up. Teams just don't want to take the chance. They're putting guys as questionable on the injury report. So that's why we've seen guys who are not only questionable on the injury report, but they play, and then they're oddly still on the injury report with the same injury the next game. So I'm not going to say it's a lock that Luka plays, but I think it's far more likely he plays than sits. So I'm in agreement with you. Luka in tier 1, and one that is a little bit tricky to navigate. Tier 2, what are you going to go with in tier 2?
Yeah, so I mean, the Kyrie one is obviously where you'd want to go in that regard, but I would actually be looking Mr. Tyrese Halliburton. I think you click on Halliburton, you play him along with Luka, and then, I mean, what is that? Like a 1 projection difference? Or you just play Luka and Kyrie and just say, yo, I'm going to go up against the Pacers. That seems fun.
All right, I'm going to go with... I don't really love going to Kyrie if we already have Luka in lineups. I'm going to go with Halliburton here. I'm not convinced Halliburton is totally healthy, but still overall for the season, he's been a much better fantasy producer than Kyrie.
I think Tyrese Halliburton is the best play on the entire slate today.
Ooh, all right. We'll get more into that in a little bit. I think you may have tipped your hand
I might have, but I don't really give a shit.
I know your nuke of the night tone.
Eric, you're so late getting into playback. Oh, Eric. Yeah.
Jordan will back me up on this. You were very, very slow to get your camera started.
It was taking a second. Okay. I wanted to make sure I didn't have the echo.
8 minutes.
Echo.
8 minutes. Tier 3.
Oh my God. Cry me a river.
Tier 3. I'm going to go with Şengün in tier 3.
Şengün. Yeah. I love Alperen Şengün. I bet Alperen Şengün triple-double plus 2,200 today.
We've got some interesting things to talk about in tier 4 because Josh Hart and Dante DiVincenzo are not the level of fantasy producers or real life players of guys like Brandon Ingram or Zion Williamson. But with Jalen Brunson out again tonight, we saw what the next minutes looked like last game. This is a game where I feel pretty confident saying that we're getting like 40 plus minutes out of Josh Hart and Dante DiVincenzo. So I'm going to go with Josh Hart after he played 45 minutes last game. But I think Hart or DiVincenzo are your guys to go to in this tier.
Yeah, nothing like the season-long 0.83 fantasy point producer, 13% usage, Josh Hart being the selection. But again, apparently he's kind of treating him like Drago in Rocky. Was that Rocky 4?
4.
If he dies. Yeah, there's a little bit of that.
Yeah, I agree with you. If he dies, he dies. Yeah,
that was good. You sounded Russian there.
In terms of cinema, I don't think it wasn't the best Rocky movie. I like Rocky 1 the first, but in terms of just like entertainment value, Rocky 4 is where it's at.
Also, they go swinging in such like a ridiculous way in that fourth movie because like each one of them have like these hyped up boxing matches. Like the first Rocky, it's like a lot of like, but like 4, they are like legitimately going at each other and just swinging. It's a phone booth fight. It's a little bit like, is there anything we're kind of expecting from UFC? I looked at 299 a little bit today, but yeah, there's not really anything on the card with like striker on striker that exists in 299. But like we've had a couple of photo booth fights in UFC lately that have been quite enjoyable. That's the Drago and Rocky story.
Not to get too far off track, but we'll get to the last couple tiers in a second. The thing I find hardest to take seriously about the Rocky movies, which I really greatly enjoy, is that Rocky is like a 5'6" heavyweight. Get out of here with that. Get out of here with Sylvester Stallone as a heavyweight. Sure. He didn't have to. They could have made him like a welterweight. It would have been a little bit more believable for his size, but whatever. Let's get to the next tier.
Yeah, Jan versus Dong is probably the closest. I mean, those are two absolute strikers, but honestly, that fight's kind of unappealing. I think they're both going to just be like toying at distance with each other the entire time. Like, I've never really seen Peter Yan fight because I must have missed his one fight last year, and I've just been into UFC for like a year and a half because of you. But yeah, I mean, obviously, Song Yadong has been really fun to watch fight, but I just don't think he's going to get inside of Yan and cause any damage.
Yeah, the last fight that Piotr Yan had was against Merab in the fall, I think. And the one he had before that was the fight against Sean O'Malley. And that was
that's right.
about a year ago, something like that. But I don't remember the exact dates off the top of my head, but somewhere around there. Tier 5, that's going to be RJ Barrett for me.
I hate when Caddy tries to talk UFC SMH. Oh, no, that's fine. Yeah, no, I'm with you. Same thing.
All right, and now finally wrapping it up here with tier 6. Tier 6, I'm going to go with Tobias Harris with Tyrese Maxey out.
Yep, same.
All right, thank you very much for the super chat there, Ace of Spade. Let's get into Discord and see what questions we have in there for us. And next question coming to us from Discord. It is from, where is it? Here, Parker Boy. Parker Boy said, did Haliburton price come down to match his trash-ass play as of late? And do we think that he will turn it around tonight?
That's the whole point.
Here's my best guess on Tyrese Haliburton. I think he's injured because there's a clear correlation between when his efficiency and his production dropped off. And it's very much related to when he had that hamstring injury. He came back. He's playing limited minutes. They've given him more minutes as of late. He did play 36 last game. So that is an indication they're feeling a little bit better about his health. But yeah, I definitely just think he's not 100% totally healthy, but there's a month left in the season. They're fighting for a playoff spot. For tournament purposes, at the price point Haliburton's at on DraftKings and FanDuel, there's absolutely tournament winning upside, especially at the low ownership he has. But my best guess as to what has related to the poor performances, I don't think he's 100% healthy.
I think it's mainly getting Pascal Siakam. It's a guy that Obviously, when you start to give up production to somebody else, and obviously he can create and go along, but Benedict Mather and Aaron Nesmith, I would love to see them both ruled out here in this situation to kind of lock in that usage. Because the other weird thing is he's had 18.3, 19.8, and 14% usage in 3 of the last 4. Last game, 22.3% usage, just shot the ball like shit. He's 0 for 12 from 3 his last 2 games. So yeah, he could be dinged up. He could be injured, but the fact of the matter is he played against New Orleans. New Orleans defensively has been ridiculous here lately. They're up to 7th in adjusted defensive rating. Herb Jones, I went back and I was like, did he guard Tyrese Halliburton at any point? Oh yeah, they were switching. And Tyrese looked just fine to me against New Orleans there at the end of February. So for me, it's a guy who is 11-3. It's down to 9K. They're going to play through him. I would love to see Nesmith and Matherin out to kind of guarantee that usage. And then I'll just get to Halliburton, Siakam, Turner. I'll get to a lot of Dallas pieces on the other side. And then the San Antonio one could be a gold mine. So I'll have plenty of pivots there in the early spot if Wembanyama is ruled out.
Let's get back to the super chats here. Then we'll dive back into Discord. Although first, let you guys know that if you want to join Discord, all you have to do is sign up for any package we have at Stokastic. Use any of the links we have below. And we've got a new promo that is starting today and is going to run through Friday. The promo code is Wemby, as in Victor Wembanyama. If you guys sign up for a Sims Max weekly package, and this is an offer that's only good for people who are watching our live shows. This isn't something we're going to be pushing on the website. We're not pushing it on Twitter or anything like that. Just something for you guys who watch the shows. If you sign up for a Sims Max weekly package, there's a link for that below. Promo code Wemby. It's already loaded in. 50% off your first week of that Sims Max weekly package. So sign up, promo code Wemby, and come and build lineups in the Sims tool. Use the contest generator. It has helped me be massively profitable this year, Eric. I have had a number of tournament wins. It's been the most profitable basketball season I've ever had, and it's absolutely related to us having these new Sims tools over at Stokastic.com. So if you guys want to check that out, sign up using that link below, promo code Wemby, and that will also get you access to the Discord channel, Wemby, W-E-M-B-Y, all capital letters. Riley Cooper, 14, wants to know any love for Isaac Okoro if he plays tonight.
Yeah, but like by default, not in like there is a massive pronounced upside with Isaac Okoro here. I got him in 4% of lineups in my last run. I'm playing 50 on DK. I'm playing 25 on FanDuel. Let's see what I end up with. Yeah, 4% there for Isaac Okoro. So what is that? 2 lineups of 50 on DK. On FanDuel, I ended up with, look at that, 0. So, I mean, he's just a dude here at the moment. It's really going to depend on Karis LeVert, obviously.
So I agree with you entirely, because the question kind of has elements to it. Because Riley Cooper 14 is saying, is there any love for Okoro if he plays? The answer to me as things stand now is no. But if Karis LeVert is out, Max Strus is already out, Donovan Mitchell's already out, then Isaac Okoro looks quite a bit better. So it's like, what are the percentage chances of this happening? So let's say Isaac Okoro is 50-50 to play. Mm-hmm. Let's say that Karis LeVert is 50-50 to play. We would need Okoro to be in, LeVert to be out. So we'll consider it a 25% chance they're actually liking Okoro. But then also there's the other element of things where if a bunch of other value opens up and Okoro also falls by the wayside. It's possible, Riley Cooper, but I don't think it's all that likely I land on a lot of Okoro because it takes all those things to come into play for me to get to a significant amount of him.
Well said.
Official Chris Presto channel. Who's Chris Presto? That's a very specific and interesting YouTube handle there, but official Chris Presto channel. Thank you for the super chat. He's saying, hey, Greg and Eric, big fan of the nuke of the night. Okay. All right. Specific nuke of the night fan.
Well, wants to know, fan of the nuke of the night because it's gone off for 2 days. Wait until my nuke of the night puts up 8 fantasy points and gets hurt in the first quarter. You won't enjoy it as much, but yes, I get it.
Oh, my nuke of the night. It's always hard to recall exactly which player.
Oh, Keontae George last night. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, I had Keontae George last night who played 4 minutes and then started throwing up and had to leave the game and never ended up returning. So it could go worse than 8 minutes and 4 fantasy points or whatever it is that you said right there. But anyway, official Chris Presto channel is a fan of the nuke of the night. He wants to know, do we think Gary Trent gets a boost with Scotty Barnes and Jakob Poeltl out?
Don't care.
Is Gary Trent something you like getting to?
No.
So here's the problem. Official Chris Presto channel on YouTube is Gary Trent, does he get a boost? Yes. So like if I'm just answering your question at face value, yes, it's a better scenario for Gary Trent with Scotty Barnes and Jakob Poeltl out than if they were in. But there's a lot of other value on the slate. It's a hell of a lot better than Gary Trent. And there's already built-in pricing to account for the Toronto news. Like, for example, my first thought yesterday was like, hey, I'm probably going to like Kelly Olynyk a lot on tonight's slate. But then you open up the slate, Kelly Olynyk's over 6K price tag because they're already taking some of these injuries into account. So it's kind of priced in already. Gary Trent's somebody who actually isn't in any of my lineups right now. So that is a no for me on Gary Trent. Seems like you were on the same page there.
Yes, I'm on 100% the same page.
We have some very interesting YouTube handles in here. The next super chat is from Derek Rose fan page. Derek Rose fan page wants to know. I bet
Thibodeau is watching our show right now.
Yeah. Hey. All right. So he starts by saying, "What's up, cuties?" All right.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Derek Rose fan page. We
Where
go
we
on,
going
though.
with
There's
this?
more here. Derek Rose fan page wants to know, what is the easiest way to get rid of a game from your player pool in The Sims? Still getting used to all of it. Thank you and good luck. So here's how I did
it.
I went into the contest generator. I first filtered by the Orlando Magic and just took all of the players out. There's a button to the left of their names. There's a plus minus. You can just remove them from the player pool. Did the same thing with the Charlotte side of the game. And that took all those players out for me when I ran the contest generator. Then I ran the Sims after that without those players in there. So that is the easiest way to do it. And it takes, I don't know, 15 seconds to do it. That to me is the easiest way to go about taking those players out. Something else you could do, if you prefer, it's not how I do it, but you could run the contest generator as is. And then every single player getting any exposure to from the Magic or the Hornets, you give them a massive negative ROI downgrade boost, and that will also get you 0%. But I think the easiest way is just take them out in the contest generator. So that's the way.
Pretty cringe intro, though, for what it's worth. Pretty cringe intro. Sup, cuties?
It wasn't sup. It's what's up.
Oh, what's up? So proper grammatically, like that's going to really tilt the scales away from being cringe for you?
I just took it as a compliment.
Okay, fine. Yeah, we are cute. Go ahead.
Goddamn right. We got a question from Parker Boy, specifically to you, Eric. I actually cannot answer this one. It's not a troll, though. It's a serious question. Don't worry. Okay. I see the look on your face already.
Okay.
He wants to know, what are your favorite props today for pick six? That's why it's one that I can't. I don't have access to pick six.
I got you. Yeah. So DraftKings pick six is awesome, mainly because it gives you like a different element because the just like no house advantage back in the day, the props don't change. The first one right off the top that I think is good no matter what, Kelly Olynyk over 11.5 points. I'm on that. I've been on it. I don't understand how people are projecting him for where he's at here at the moment. It's very confusing to me. The other thing that DraftKings has done a really good job of with this product is they don't release a lot of lines ahead of time, or they wait a little while and, people like myself are making content or somebody else might write something up. And those props come out a little bit later, but an hour before lock of the slate, so 30 minutes ago, they are done. They threw out Kyrie Irving over 28.5 points ahead of time. Here is what I would strongly recommend doing. Jamal Murray over 20.5 points, I think is a really good play. It's minus 140, minus 145 at pretty much every single sports book. So my game plan is I'm playing a lot of Jamal Murray, Kelly Olynyk, like 2 picks. I've got a couple of game stacks from San Antonio, Houston, because I think that could end up being a little bit of a gold mine with news. But if there's news where Luka Doncic somehow is ruled out or other pieces happen earlier, like we get a surprise starting lineup from San Antonio, if they have both Champagne and Victor Wembanyama ruled out, there's going to be something to get to on the other side of it. Right now, Houston, all those props are available. I'd be looking at shorting them or just jamming over 10.5 points for Trey Jones. So I'm going to backload a lot of those lineups to Phoenix, Denver, and I'm going to react to news once we get off of this show, once we're at lock, when I'm working through my betting stuff for tomorrow. So the best the best advice I can give you, I think Kelly Olynyk can be somebody you rotate around a lot of cards. But I thought about it a lot because I don't think a lot of people are going to get to any unders on Houston if Wembanyama's out. There's a massive blowout risk. And then I want to get to sections of that Indy-Dallas game if something unexpected happens there. But I always like to backload my lineups in pick six and then react because you're allowed to swap out your props.
Couple of injury updates while you're talking there. Isaac Okoro is in. Karis LeVert also in. So the question we got before about do we love Isaac Okoro? Do we have any love for Isaac Okoro? Listen, as a last man in, if you absolutely need him in a pinch, he's all right. But in general, not someone I'm going to be playing very much of. in Isaac Okoro. So those two pieces in for the Cleveland Cavaliers. We got that update there. Palmer Jones wants to know, will Trae Young still terrify New Yorkers from the bench? Yeah, if they're sitting behind him and they have to look at his hairline, but beyond that, I don't think it matters.
Valid.
He does. He looks like a dirty lollipop. Jake Swales wants to know, this is thanks to the invite to the pool party, Eric, from Jake Swales. What's this about?
Oh, the Jordan Poole party. That's what he was getting at from yesterday. Jordan Poole decided to go completely ballistic. Didn't actually matter that much. I had a lot of Jordan Poole with it got reduced quite a bit to some extent, but you absolutely needed the three guys. Sexton, you needed Clarkson, you needed Collins. I had tons of them. Had Jordan Poole, but there were a lot of good lineups I had where he would take a lineup spot from one of them, and that was kind of a disaster. So overall, it was a good night, but yeah, the Jordan Poole thing should have worked out even better than it did. After the first half, I thought we were going to get naked and dance in the streets, but I suppose that did not happen.
Let's see what we have coming in here next. I ended up a 1v1 swap away from winning the $4 yesterday. The winning lineup had Anthony Simons. I had the exact same lineup with De'Aaron Fox instead.
Yeah.
Very annoying because the Anthony Simons game kind of came out of nowhere, and I had no exposure to Simons last night. So I'm looking at this late. I'm like, all right, I guess I just am not live to win today because I didn't play a 3% on Anthony Simons who scored a billion fantasy points.
Yesterday in the $3, I had Keontae George and got 20th or something in the $3. It was the dumbest, most painful thing ever. I had so much Simons on FanDuel. He was more popular over there too, but it was just the 4-game slate. But man, the Keontae George thing really, really hurt.
See what we have coming in here next. We'll do one more super chat, Eric, and then we'll go and hit the nuke of the night. How about that? Sound like a plan?
Lovely. I got my Topo Chico. I'm happy.
All right. So Jordan, get ready to play that animation after we get this super chat out of the way from Shane Daly. He wants to know, guys, do you think he'll be getting any dick tonight? Depends if Eric plays his cards right. And then he wants to know Merrill 1v1. Oh, Merrill versus LeVert 1v1. If this is something where it's just should you play Merrill or LeVert and salary isn't a concern, the answer is very clearly Caris LeVert.
Caris LeVert by a lot. I don't even want to play Sam Merrill today.
I have some exposure to Sam Merrill. It's not as much as I thought it was going to be. This morning when I did the strategy show with Bellman, we're filling in because Josh's power went out right before the strategy show was supposed to start. I was getting myself to a lot of Sam Merrill, but what ended up happening, just better value opened up. He's still in play. There's just better cheap options.
Yep. Good way of saying it.
Yeah. LeVert is somebody I'm still getting a good amount of, though. Same for you?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's do it then. Jordan, play the animation. It's time for Nuke of the Night. By the way, your penis is about to blow off, so yeah, no dick.
Well, one. All we need is one to do the things we want to do.
Where is my... I have so many things open. Is the animation done? I can't even find the
It's done.
tab.
It's completely done. It's completely done.
Cool.
We can move on with our lives.
Lead us off here, Eric. Who's the Nuke of the Night for Tuesday?
I'm going to give you a 2-part Nuke of the Night because I couldn't decide between which one, and I kind of gave you the foreshadowing of one. Let's give you a cheapie. We'll go to the expensive guy. Kind of talked about it earlier, but Tyrese Halliburton has to be the guy. I mean, Dallas, no defense with the Luka Doncic Kyrie piece. There should only be offense in this game. We know the pace that Indy brings, but we talk about the injury. We talk about, I think he's dinged up. I think it's just a little bit of like a hangover after the All-Star break, which, he was in Indy. He was doing extra press. He probably didn't have the most relaxing All-Star game compared to most guys. He came back from that. Just 2 bad shooting nights. I think that happens a lot of times. Now, does it happen 0-for-7 where you don't score a point when you're the quality of player of Tyrese Halliburton? No, but that's kind of what you ran into. He went completely nuts against Herb Jones. They made some different swaps. Again, brought Herb Jones onto him, and life was difficult. Tyrese Halliburton shot the ball terrible the last 2. There's really no excuse, but you're getting a super low-owned 9K Tyrese Halliburton when he was over 11K back in the middle of December. So I have no doubts that if this game is remotely competitive, that he's going to play 35 plus minutes. And that, friends, I just have to do it. I have to, at 9K, get way over the field on a 5% of my Iowa State brethren. Nuke of the night, Tyrese Halliburton, but you got to throw the Zach Collins piece out. This is probably the most important swap that you could make on this entire slate. in the event that Victor Wembanyama gets ruled out, you have Zach Collins sitting at a price point that is just asinine if he ends up out. Have a game plan in place. Greg talked about not playing the first game. I think that is more than warranted, but a $4,500 Zach Collins. He's played 26, 28, and 28 in 3 of the 4 games that he has started for Victor Wembanyama this season. The other one was a blowout. Don't even look at it. But Zach Collins is a 1.04 fantasy point per minute guy who's a 1.11 fantasy point per minute guy with Victor Wembanyama off the floor this season. Don't forget, they started together to start this season. So Zach Collins is an absolute smash at center at 4,500 on DraftKings, where you can play 2 of them. Nuke of the Knights, Tyrese Halliburton and Zach Collins.
Some news that happened while you're delivering the Nuke of the Night. Sam Merrill's starting for the Cleveland Cavaliers tonight, Eric.
Gosh,
this is going to
mother
change.
of God.
We have to play Sam Merrill now.
Oh.
Now that he's starting.
Yeah, you have to. Here's the thing. Are we a bad shooting night against a good Boston defense away from having 50% Sam Merrill disappear? Because, like, it'd be one thing if it was a good rebounder, a good passer, somebody who put up defensive stats. He does none of those 3 things. It is feast or famine in the box score for Sam Merrill. So you said, oh, we got to play him. I'm going to play him, but like 4,100, I will not play him if he's going to be mega chalk, in like some massive quantity.
For my Nuke of the Night, Eric, I am going to go with Miles McBride from the New York Knicks, who is not as popular as I thought he was going to be with Brunson. Now, he's picking up ownership, but it's around 20%. I thought he was going to be far more popular than that. Last game, Jalen Brunson gets hurt 30 seconds into the game. Miles McBride checks in and never checked back out. He played the rest of the entire game. That is an unbreakable record. That will never happen again in NBA history. It'll never be broken. Nobody will play more than 47 and a half minutes in a regulation game that they did not start. Miles McBride was able to accomplish that feat with the help of Tom Thibodeau as his coach last time out. I'm not saying you go out and you project him for 47 minutes again, but here are the other recent starts we had from Miles McBride. Last time out that we saw him start, it was a blowout against the New Orleans Pelicans. We didn't close the game. 40 and a half minutes on February 27th. Start before that against the Dallas Mavericks, 45 and a half minutes. The ceiling upside for McBride is absolutely ridiculous. And I think that the field is not quite taking that into account enough. So Nuke of the Night for me, Miles McBride.
I'm very, very interested in that one as well. So I love the shout out. Champagne on track to play.
Is on track to play.
Penny.
Was there a Wemby update with that
nope,
as well?
Didn't see it.
Remains questionable. So
great.
No real update there, but we'll get that later on in the night. Also, more reason to watch the post-lock show over on Playback. Myself and Josh, we're going to be sweating some bets. We're going to be talking DFS, and my lineups are likely to change a lot over the course of the show because I'm not playing the first game on the slate, waiting for more injury news. Let's see what else we have here. The next super chat is coming to us from Thomas Ryan. Wants to know our favorite plays at each position on DraftKings. Yeah, let's get to it. So starting at point guard, my favorite overall point guard is currently Cam Payne. He is questionable to play, but with Maxey out, we've seen Payne start for the 76. Actually, his first game with Philly, he started in place of Maxey, and they're playing big minutes. So point guard for me, that is Cam Payne. Wasn't able to be priced up by the sites because Maxey just kind of concussion out of nowhere today. What do you have at point guard?
I'm with you. Cam Payne in the event that we get that start. If in the event that we don't, I mean, it's going to be probably Luka for me. That entire game, I just can't say enough good things. It's got a 247 total, and it just seems like it's not getting the kind of attention I think it deserves. Obviously, then you also get the swappability into San Antonio, and then I'm just backloading lineups.
Shooting guard, that is the aforementioned Miles McBride for me.
Oh, interesting. It's not Miles McBride for me. It's Kelly Oubre.
The reason it is not Kelly Oubre for me is because he is my answer at small forward.
Dante DiVincenzo is my small forward.
Power forward for me, that is Tobias Harris.
Kelly Olynyk for me.
And then at center, that is currently Şengün. That is one that is very subject to change based on injury news, especially if Zach Collins ends up starting in place of Wemby.
Can I ask you one question? Because this is the one that I'm having the weirdest. With Day'Ron Sharpe out, who plays backup 5? Is it going to be Trendon Watford? And if it's not, do you think DFS can play just backup 5?
So I think Claxton plays a few extra minutes. I think that's one thing that the Nets are going to do with Day'Ron Sharpe out. And then beyond that, I think that they're going to give Noah Clowney center minutes.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't think so. They announced that Noah Clowney is going to be active tonight. I don't think it was for no reason. It was directly related to Sharpe being out. So I think Clowney.
Why do they hate Jalen Wilson? Because Jalen Wilson seems good whenever he's on the floor. I don't understand anything Brooklyn's doing right now.
My best guess is Clowney. Either way, it's nobody who's going to be super relevant for DFS. I don't think Clowney's going to be relevant or
well, it has more to do with what I want to do,
DFS.
which is actually play Paul Reed, and I don't recommend it for the faint of heart.
I have 11% exposure to Paul Reed right now.
That's way over the field. I'm with you. I have about 20, and it makes me want to vomit.
Next question here, Pierre Hines. Craig Porter Jr. Oh my God. You know that there's only a month left in the season when we get this question. Craig Porter Jr. or Ricky Council the fourth for a punt. So we only have people here who are named after somebody else. Craig Porter Jr., all the Ricky Councils, we could group them into one. I prefer Craig Porter Jr. to Ricky Council if I had to pick one.
I prefer Ricky Council by a lot.
Okay. I mean, the answer to me ultimately, though,
is zero of them.
Priorities.
Yeah, but I'm looking at it right now, and I have 4 minutes for Porter. I actually went through and did some of my stuff here today. Ricky Council, I have in the rotation for 12, so that's cool.
It's fairly unappealing for.
Yeah, it's disturbing. Don't play either.
Fairly unappealing for both of them. Saif Din wants to know thoughts on Jordan Nwora. Also, do we think LeBron uses PEDs? LeBron says that he uses, LeBron says he spends over, what is it, like $1 million a year on his body. I'm sure that some of that is stuff that will enhance his performance in some sort of way. So my answer is yes. I think that's probably the same for just about any professional athlete that has any kind of semblance of money. And it doesn't have to be something that's banned. You could get, if you're an athlete and you have a lot of money, you could get certain synthetic stuff designed for you that's going to improve your performance. It's not on any sort of banned list or anything like that, but it's something that if you knew the ingredients, I would be like, oh, that's a little weird. Maybe it gets banned in the future or something. I don't think he's doing anything against the rules, but yeah, same thing. Like when players used to use HGH in baseball, it wasn't disallowed. It wasn't on the ban. It wasn't on the banned list. They didn't test for it, but they used it. And I kind of think there's going to be similar stuff like that. I also don't really give a shit. But the answer for that is yes. Thoughts on Jordan Nwora?
Yeah.
A little bit too thin for me on Jordan Nwora. Not like a total fade,
I
but
get it though. Yeah, that was what I was getting at. Is I get what you're doing. I don't think we're gonna have to do it again. It's gonna depend on when the news comes out for Wemby, because that's gonna do everything. If it comes out before 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, I think there's gonna be an opportunity to really just get away from all of that crap. But if we get like Wemby in, if we get Doncic in, I think that's going to create a spot where Jordan Nwora has a lot more use. The thing I wouldn't want is Jordan Nwora in my lineups still with that news pending in any way, shape, or form.
Next question we have here. It is, who are our favorite plays at each position over on FanDuel? This is a super chat coming to us from, where was it? Here, Mr. Cool Cam 97. Mr. Cool Cam, hope you're doing well. It's been a minute since I saw you around here. Top plays at each position on FanDuel for me. You have FanDuel lineups built out as well.
Yeah, I'm playing both sites today. Okay. So
point guard for me, that is McBride.
Yeah, it's McBride for me too. Here's the thing: Misic is going to be very popular there at 4,800. I'm doing exactly what Greg said. I'm just going to fade it.
Shooting guard, that is Kelly Oubre.
Kelly Oubre.
Small forward, Tobias Harris.
Dante DiVincenzo.
Power forward for me. Actually, I want to roll this back. Dante DiVincenzo at small forward, so I can say Tobias Harris at power forward.
There you go. Kelly Olynyk for me at power forward.
And then at center, that is once again Şengün, same as what I had over on DK.
Is Zach Collins power forward center.
Luka in tonight. So there we go. That is not something that
I would have been shocked if he sat.
I wouldn't say shocked, but it was more likely we thought he was going to end up starting than playing. So we're good. Luka is in. Not something we have to worry about for later. Circling back on the super chat we got from Ace of Spade at the top of the show. Confidently put in Luka for your tier 1 play over there. Shout out to Chris Williams, who gifted us out 5 YouTube memberships. Chris, as always, thank you for supporting the channel. If anybody else wants to support us, simply like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and check us out on Playback after this end. More free content for us. We're going to be sweating the games, watching. Josh and I'll be updating lineups, going through all the late swaps. And then even after we're done, last night, we just let the games play on Playback the entire night. We got over 100 people watched the entire slate over on Playback. Even when we were done, I was hanging out in chat a little bit when I was done talking, just throwing some messages in. So was Jordan Klein. He was hanging out in there with the people. So yeah, if you guys want to watch all the games on the slate and hang out with us, go hang out Playback after we're done here. Derek Rose fan page. Sorry for being cringe. Here's $2 more. I promise that was not our intention at all, but Derek Rose fan page. We appreciate your support there. Fantasy Guru 76 says, just got in, must play point guard, small forward, and value center on FanDuel. So my overall favorite point guard is Miles McBride. My overall favorite small forward is Tobias Harris. I believe Eric and I were more or less in line.
Yep.
Eric had Dino Chenza we wanted to.
I had Kelly Olynyk at power forward / center, but I am much higher on Kelly Olynyk even than the field, and he's already the most popular play on FanDuel. So he's 5,800. It just would appear that I think he's going to play more than other people do.
There isn't if we're just talking points per dollar, the answer is Kelly Olynyk, but there isn't a super cheap center I love getting to on FanDuel tonight.
Let me see if he's in my lineups here, if I got to him. No, I didn't. So there's one cheapie that I thought was at least interesting, Jonas Valanciunas, 6,100, but I'm not doing it, it would appear. So I think maybe when we rerun some stuff, if Zach Collins doesn't end up becoming available, I'll obviously hit eject. I'll probably end up on some J-Val, but yeah, Joe-Val probably would be the answer at 6,100.
And Collins is 6,500 on FanDuel. So once again, he's not, I don't know exactly what price point you're looking for as far as value goes, Fantasy Guru 76, but there isn't like a punt play I think you should be rostering over at the center position on FanDuel. Cheapest guy that I like the most would be Kelly Olynyk. Saif Din wants to know what percentages Luka owns tonight. Now that he's confirmed in, and I assume that's probably going to make people a little bit more confident pushing that button, I'll say right around 30%.
Yeah, he was still in a quarter of lineups as it was, or 20, 25% of lineups. Yeah, 21.4% of lineups. He's going to be higher owned than that, I would think. It's Indiana. Hello. Don't sleep on Kyrie, sub 9K on DK.
Let's go ahead and look at some of the other questions that we're getting in the Discord channel. And don't forget, if you guys want access to the Discord, sign up using one of the links that we have below if you're watching on YouTube. Hi, I'm Drew95. Wants to know, who do we think are the cash game plays tonight? Yeah, so overall top cash game plays. Let's see. Which way do we want to go for cash? A lot of 76ers. I think you want to be playing Kelly Oubre in cash games. You want to be playing... I mean, I guess I'll say campaign for purposes of this. If he's out, then you end up taking him out, and you want to make sure he's starting as well.
Yeah.
So if campaign is in and he starts, he's a must play for cash games. Kelly Oubre is somebody you want in cash games. Miles McBride is somebody I think you want in cash games. You want Luka in cash games now. Anybody else you would add as like a must play in a cash game?
I want to just say, if you get Wemby news before 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, absolute must play Zach Collins. Like, you absolutely have to play him in cash.
Good call out. Good call out there. Yeah, lots of news still to come. Hey, I'm Drew95. So yeah, keep watching Playback show after we're done here. And then also at me in Discord if you have any questions later. K Sizzle says, hey, Eric, I'm trailing your underdog post from Twitter. Do you have a couple for DK pick 6? If not, do you have any for underdog? So you did talk about pick 6 before. You don't have to go through all the analysis again, but
I won't. Really I'll be quick. Kelly Olynyk over
picks.
Yeah, Kelly Olynyk over 11.5 points. You got Jamal Murray, 20.5 points. Really like that one. Kyrie Irving, not going to be the one that you want to have on the card here at that point in time. I basically backloaded all of my pick 6 stuff, and I'm going to deal with it here after the show. I put like 5, 6, 25, 30 buck cards together and just like rotate through some of the best plays that we have over on OS, over at Odd Shopper leading into it. But yeah, I'm going to sit and wait for the Wemby news because I think there's a great opportunity. Again, Houston, big blowout potential, but the one guy that I think benefits the most, the over 9.5 rebounds, I didn't talk about that before, for Jabari Smith. I think that is a smash. It's already minus 150 a lot of places. So Jabari Smith, that would be the one that I didn't have before that I didn't talk about. So that's new analysis.
Next question here. It is from, I hate when Discord does this. There's no questions, and then all of a sudden they just show up all of a sudden. And by the way, these were questions that were asked before. It's just
fly, just go.
We've got Stokes asking, are we slamming Luka as a pay-up option today? Depends what you mean by slamming. I anticipate 42%. He's going to be in like a third of my lineups or something like that, but it also depends how much additional value opens up later, because if nobody else gets ruled out, I'll have Luka exposure, but it's going to be hard for me to get to like 50% Luka unless, like Zach Collins comes into play and other guys, things along those lines. So he's my favorite overall pay-up option on the slate, but I mean, it depends what you mean by slamming, but how would you answer that?
I will say that there's going to be a strong correlation between like campaign and Luka Doncic together type lineups. That's 25% of lineups that that's 25% of your 8 players that you're putting together. I would be inclined to get to Luka without campaign. I would be inclined to get to campaign without Luka in some capacity, but like the price point is going to force them together in some lineups. And I would be trying to maybe not just jam them together. But yeah, if you have access to campaign, if you have access to Zach Collins, those are going to be 2 guys that really make Luka accessible to the field.
Next question that we have in Discord is coming to us from Mousepad San, who's asking, I'm getting to a lot of campaign and it's scary. It shouldn't be. Just be ready to adjust if he's ruled out or if he isn't starting. But campaign looks great if he's starting. Crabsy is asking us thoughts on Hart and Dante DiVincenzo in the same lineup. No issue, because they're both probably going to play over 40 minutes.
Correct.
So that will definitely help that.
Yeah. As long as they survive, they'll be good.
Grown Simba wants to know who is the exotic play of the day from a guy in a short sleeve and a vest.
I was hitting golf balls over lunch. Leave me alone.
Who's the exotic play of the day? Grown Simba wants to know. He's a paying customer.
I don't know what he's talking about.
You don't know what the exotic play of the night is? Oh my God.
Potentially Zach Collins.
Potentially, if it is Zach Collins, then Luka also gets added to the mix because of all the additional value that's available. So we'll see what ends up happening there. Zach Collins, a good shout out though, if we do end up getting the Wemby news to fall our way. We've got some super chats that came in. One here is from Active Guru. Top 3 power forwards and shooting guards that we're getting to. All right, top power forwards and shooting guards. Tobias Harris, Dorian Finney-Smith, Miles McBride, Josh Hart, Dennis Schroeder, Dante DiVincenzo. Top 3 at each position for me.
Sounds great.
Brett Hannabooth wants to know who we're getting to the most from DK tiers. I'll pull this up again really quick. Tier 1, Luka. Tier 2, that is Tyrese Halliburton. Tier 3, Alperen Şengün. Tier 4, Josh Hart. Tier 5, RJ Barrett, and then tier 6, Tobias Harris. Thank you for the super chat there, Brett Hannabooth. And then we've got Chris Williams asking for our favorite DK showdown plays. An interesting fact, the last time these 2 teams played was a showdown, and said it was his biggest win ever for NBA the last time these 2 teams
Let's go.
Played. Okay. I'm going to have to really quickly run some showdown lineups for you, Chris, and then I'll answer your super chat. DC24 wants to know, are we playing campaign even if he doesn't start? I'll probably have some exposure to him, but like right now he's super highly owned in my lineups. If he doesn't start, I'll still have exposure to him, but he won't be a core play. Will you play him at all if he doesn't start, Eric?
No. I will not. He'll be over. We don't have him for that many minutes. We have him for 19. I mean, obviously there's a lot of different teams. Jordan, why? We're trying to get things done. Why are you doing it? Why? Still 4 minutes left, bro.
All right, so Eric's answer is no. My answer is yes, but way less than I was going to have. Chris Williams left us a super chat about our favorite plays for a showdown. In the captain spot, that is Jokic for me. If we're looking at flex play, and by the way, it's Jokic by a lot. Then if we're looking at the flex spots, Saban Lee for cheap, Kevin Durant, Jamal Murray, and Yusuf Nurkic rounding out the other players I got to the most in the flex spot there. Getting back to Discord now. The next Discord question is coming to us from Pod O Plays. Oh, this is way different. So Pod O Plays is... He wants to know about Micic on Owner's Box. Micic's min price on Owner's Box about, Eric, $3,400. I feel way different about playing him in the first game of the night at $3,400.
Cool.
All right. Eric thinks Micic is cool. You know why Eric thinks Micic is cool? Because he's an exotic play. He's an exotic play. Bring it all together. Try not to laugh at that, you idiot. I see 50. Campaign lineups look way different than non-campaign lineups. Yes or no? By the way, that was not somebody who said that question intentionally.
Honestly, I'm pretty good at holding it together and not laughing through some of it. That was the funniest shit you've ever said in my entire life.
That was well timed. Thank you for the question, even if it was unintentional there. Pato Plays. IC50 wants to know, campaign lineups look way different than non-campaign lineups. Yes or no? Yeah, you just have way more salary in campaign lineups. We just need to find out that he's confirmed in and that he's starting. Next question from Rico Rod 1980 for FanDuel. Bertans or Agbaji? That's Agbaji for me on FanDuel. Agbaji is going to start. Bertans is likely to not play all the 90 minutes.
Correct. Bertans played the fourth quarter of that game, and it was just so stupid to watch, and I really have no interest in playing him.
And that has us all caught up on all of the questions here. If you guys haven't done it yet, do us a favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We've got like 30 seconds left here before we turn things over to playback, Eric. Any final thoughts on the slate?
My coworker's hating me. It's another day. Just call it a Tuesday.
We don't hate you. You're just very fun to make fun of because you get extremely upset about it.
Well, I mean, it's just not very funny. I'm trying to defend the people and like...
It's very hard to claim that when you just almost spit out your drink when you were trying not to laugh.
I know. It was pretty funny, but it is what it is. It is what it is.
All right, guys. So that is going to end live before lock, but the show isn't ending. We're going to head on over to playback. We're going to sweat the games and figure out what the hell is going to happen with the injury reports for tonight. We're going to go over some first basket stuff, which I think is going to be fun. A new foray for Josh and I to get into to sweat out the games here. So go join us over there. Jordan, drop the link into the YouTube chat so people know where to find us over on playback, and hope to see you guys over on the other side. If not, you're making a mistake. You should be joining us on playback, but peace out. Have a good night. Good luck. Let's head on over to playback.